Good evening. Tonight we bring you full reports on the drama at the Pebco Three Amnesty hearing and the special business sector hearing. Our last item is a special documentary on South Africa's involvement in the failed 1981 coup in the Seychelles. We begin in Port Elizabeth. In May 1985, three leaders of the Port Elizabeth Black Civic Organization, Sipho Hashe, champion Galela and Qaqawuli Godolozi, were abducted from Port Elizabeth Airport. They were taken to Post Chalmers, a disused police station in Cradock, and eliminated. 5 Eastern Cape security policemen, Harold Snyman, Hermanus du Plessis, Johan van Zyl, Gideon Niewoudt and Vlakplaas Lots, are now asking for amnesty for the killings of the men who have become known as the Pebco Three. Their 4 co-conspirators from Vlakplaas, Roel Venter, Gert Beeslaar, Kimpani Mogwai and Johannes Kule, are asking for amnesty for abduction. At this week's hearings, the different but chilling tales of the last hours of the Pebco Three continued to unfold.
2 men dominated this week's amnesty hearing into the 1985 murders of the Port Elizabeth leaders known as the Pepco Three. The Centenary Hall in New Brighton was crammed daily by residents and activists who came to hear security policeman Gideon Niewoudt and Vlakplaas askari Joe Mamasela speak of their roles in the deaths of Sipho Hashe, champion Galela and Qaqawuli Godolozi. Niewoudt is a convicted killer. He is also one of the 5 security policemen who are asking for amnesty for the killings of the 3 activists.
They were taken out of the garage or carried out one by one.
Captain van
Zyl shot Mr. Hashe with a .22 caliber gun. He handed the gun to me, after which I in turn shot Mr. Godolozi, and Mr. Lots shot Mr. Galela. We placed all 3 the deceased on the pile of wood.
Waar ons hulle met diesel bestrooi het.
We poured diesel over them and over the wood.
Ek het die vuur aan die brand gesteek, edele.
I lit the fire.
Die lyke was totaal uitgebrand geweest na ongeveer 6
The bodies were burnt out totally after approximately 6 to 8 hours.
Volgende oggend,
the next morning,
het ons die as bymekaar geskraap.
We gathered or raked all the ash together, put it into black bags.
Ek het opdrag van kaptein van Zyl gekry.
I had the instruction from Captain van Zyl to destroy all evidence of what I had done. I took it to the fish river just before Cradock, before you enter Cradock.
Ek het daar die sakke daar uitgeskit hierdie in die rivier.
I emptied the bags into the river.
En ons het vertrek na Port Elizabeth.
And we left for Port Elizabeth.
Mamasela is a self-confessed killer. He is one of the Vlakplaas operatives who took part in the Pebco Three operation. He has not applied for amnesty, but will testify before the Truth Commission once all the amnesty applicants have been heard. He has a very different account of the killings.
Lieutenant Niewoudt beat them up with an iron pipe into their heads so severely that They were kicked, they were punched, they were stomped, they were jumped over their heads, and they were killed. Yes, they died. They died one by one.
Hy het 4 verskillende weergawe
He gave 4 different versions. At that stage already, he had given 4
Ek
different
ontken dit
versions.
ten sterkste
And I
van
strongly deny
enige van
it.
sy 4 verskillende weergawe.
Mamasela's description of a disordered killing frenzy stands in sharp contrast to the security police version of a clinical and clean execution. Somewhere between these extremes is the story told by 2 black operatives of the Vlakplaas squad. Former askari Kimpani Mkhwai and policeman Johannes Kule are asking for amnesty for the abduction and assault of the Pebco Three. Their commander, Roel Venter, and his right-hand man, Gert Beeslaar, deny that the 3 activists were assaulted. The security police also deny assault, including Niewoudt, the chief interrogator at Post Chalmers, a disused police station where they took the activists after the abduction.
His head was covered and his legs and hands were chained. Mr. Hashe then explained that he was not going to say anything. He would better die. It was better for him to die.
And what happened further?
After a while, he requested that he should be uncovered. This cloth on the head should be removed. They removed the cloth and he was asked whether he was prepared to tell the truth. He refused. After refusing, he was beaten with fists and he was kicked. All of us in that room.
Does that include yourself?
Yes, my lord. I took part in the beating.
En die volgende oggend?
And the next morning,
Wat het verder gebeur?
what happened then?
Interrogation started. We first went to Mr. Hashe. He was released from the shackles. He was brought outside with the help so that he'll be able to walk. He was put on the stoop. Then the interrogation started on him.
The assault that was similar to that of yesterday started. It was worse than the previous day. He was kicked. He was kicked severely.
It came to a point where Mr. Hashe said, "Please stop, I want to tell you what you want." Then he said to us, "At my sister's place, there is an AK-47 which is hidden in her place."
The assaulters were pleased with this confession. Hashe, still in leg irons and handcuffed, was left alone. After a while, he spoke to Johannes Kule.
You said on the previous interrogation he lied that he had a gun to his sister's place. He's afraid that if the investigators would go there and find that the gun is not there, he would be in danger. So there's nothing like that there is a gun which is hidden at his sister's place, as he said earlier. Whilst I was trying to go to Mr. Mkhwai to tell him what I heard from Mr. Hashe, the Port Elizabeth police, 2 men who were near, I thought they heard for themselves, so they rushed to him with violence. They started kicking him and hit and beating him whilst he was still lying on the ground.
Because it was a turmoil. It was a real turmoil. And the white people were really emotional.
Can you remember perhaps who was the person that kicked him against the head when he fell against the wall?
My Lord, it is unfortunate that I do not remember who kicked him, because there were so many kicks, but there was this one strong kick that hit his head against the wall and he fainted.
After he regained conscience, he was taken back to the room where he was tied.
Did you see that with your own eyes?
Yes, that's correct.
These white men were angry. They were really frightening. And they said Mr. Godolozi should be fetched from the cell. He should be brought at the stoop. They brought him with, his hands were cuffed and his legs were also cuffed. His face was covered. He was screaming when he went out, saying he was not prepared to tell anything. A small white bag was then taken, and they covered his head and face, and it was tightened up at the neck so that he can suffocate.
This bag was removed. Then he was taken to the site of the garage, which was near us there.
Yeah.
Yes.
After the bag was removed from his head, he was asked as whether he is prepared to talk. Then he denied. He said there is nothing which he will say, which he knows. It is better for them to kill him.
After a while, they came out. They were now more angered. And they went straight to the garage where Mr. Godolozi was. When they got there, they closed the door. After closing the door, we heard the scream from Mr. Godolozi.
I'm doing this, you can do what of me here now. No, it's not necessary.
Khane Mogoy and Johannes Kule did not present themselves as blameless. Of the 9 applicants, they are the only 2 who acknowledged that the Pepco Three were assaulted. And they are the only 2 who have applied for amnesty for their role in the assaults.
I have taken this opportunity to speak the truth and to express my torturing regrets about wasted years and my shame about a mean and petty past. As I regard myself today as a disgrace to my mother, my family and my relatives, my friends and the families of the Pebco Three, and the nation as such. It is with my deepest remorse that I ask for forgiveness and hopefully wishes to be reconciled with everybody once more and be part of a better and brighter future of South Africa. I say it now here today as I could not have done so in the earlier days of this realization for obvious reasons. I thank you.
The question of whether or not the Pepco Three were assaulted before they died is crucial to whether the applicants are granted amnesty. If the activists were beaten to death, the security policemen will have difficulty convincing the committee that such brutality was in proportion to the political objective sought, to control militancy in the Eastern Cape. On the other hand, if the Amnesty Committee decides they did not tell the truth about the way the 3 activists died, they may refuse amnesty. Truth and full disclosure are preconditions for amnesty.